Yeah. Go ahead, Cash on Facebook. I'm in my zone right now, man. Yeah. It's crazy. I'm in my zone, I'm in my zone. Party all night like I just came home. I got issues with relationships, so I just stay alone. And she think that I be cheating, so she searching through my phone. I'm so cautious of what that girl might find. I wonder like Stevie, cause love is so blind. And life just goes forward, it has no rewind. And I got a lot of stress that just sit on my mind. And you only live once, can't waste no time. And success is a ladder most people can't climb. In my zone, I'm in my prime. And when I say blood, I ain't talking about slime. I don't gang bang because I'm not that kind of dude. I'm at the bar with a bottle to ease my mind, cause I'm that type of dude. And life, I'm just speeding through. I'm just speeding through the streets without stopping at the signs. Intoxicated, so I'm absent from the pain. My emotions paralyzed, so people think I changed. And my eyes hallucinating, seeing sunlight through the rain. And I just plug up my controller, cause life is just a game. If you win, you get a pass, but if you lose, then it's a shame. Lonely after money, X is best defines lame. Lonely only knows who the fuck is to blame. Knowing who you are overpowers money and fame. I'd rather have my soul than some cheap gold chain. But I'ma stop here because it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain the game to you. You gotta play by the rules. This is the zone. This is the zone. This is the zone. This is the zone. This is the zone.